from 2014. Joe Tripodi captured the attention of news services today as he told the ICAC he had campaigned against an Australian Labor Party candidate who opposed the business interests of Nathan Trinkler's Bulldev, wanting a coal loader. So, former Premier Miss Keneally is furious and feels betrayed. She can't understand why Tripodi would betray the ALP that way. Tripodi has said he hadn't betrayed the ALP. He had opposed the ALP candidate. Tripodi denied he had designed the campaign against the ALP candidate. Tripodi says he advised against the campaign, but when he realized it was proceeding, he advised on words used so as to keep it legal. Lost among the pain and hurt is the fact that the coal loader would have been good for the local community, boosting the economy, and opposition to it was based on nothing more than hysterical lies regarding industrial use of coal. And corruption of the former ALP has meant that for developers to do what is needed to grow industry, they are subject to the world of corrupt negotiation. Unions are using standover tactics to develop slush funds, and Joe was positioning himself to control those funds. Lack of transparency within political decision-making has meant that such corruption flourishes, which harms the economy and local community and pushes young people out of work. Keneally was not worried about Joe becoming a kingmaker using corruptly obtained money. Neither was she concerned at the arbitrary decision to oppose useful business on probably corrupt grounds. But Keneally is shocked that Joe would harm an ALP member's attempt at getting an undeserved seat, something that any private decision is allowed to do. And which media outlet has noticed what is wrong with the situation? Only Sydney Conservative, now Dandenong Conservative. John Robertson is still unelectable. He has done nothing to deserve being elected. In government, he opposed progress and championed the corrupt process of the ALP and unions that sees business extorted just to run. The media are very supportive, constantly propping him up for balance when criticizing good Liberal Party policy. But while the old adage, if you do nothing, you do nothing wrong applies, the Liberal Party have done too much, which is right. It is good to see improvement in school, public transport, hospitals and law enforcement, which previous ALP administrations have given up on, claiming it was no longer possible to run an efficient train network or ticket appropriately, or increasing waiting lists for everybody needing medical care, or budgeting appropriately. The Greiner-Fahey government had set up an electricity sale which would have netted New South Wales $60 billion or twice more. Carr opposed it, as does Robertson. It is unlikely New South Wales would get what was on offer for electricity 20 years ago. New South Wales people still back at black and blue from Robertson-style thuggery don't want them. Victoria's ALP seems to have an old problem with a Calabrian connection. Organised crime is something the ALP have long been connected with in New South Wales, from well before the killing of Donald Mackay. The ALP member allegedly had weapons charges too. Naturally, the alleged controls of an ALP branch and has factional power to control pre-selection. The ALP need to be proud of their choices in the lead-up to the Victorian state election. Otherwise, they look like losers. Gosford Anglican Church proudly displays a sign saying they are campaigning against Team Australia. The reasoning for the choice seems absent of God. Another who worships strange things, Greens leader in the Australian federal government, remarks on victims of Middle East terrorism, just let them die. That explains her party's support for the murderous people smugglers who charge tens of thousands of dollars to poor, desperate people. Meanwhile, in the UK and Rotherham, 1,400 children have been sexually abused with state permission. It turns out they weren't the right race or religion for the community to care about. It is definitely an embarrassing moment for the UK when Abbott said Australia's defining moment was the first fleet sailing into Sydney Harbour. It was worse than him winking on radio. Maybe the UK can store their child protection files in the cloud. That is secure and might not show their nakedness.